Dorothy Baker.
And I'm Maddie Grace Woolridge.
And we're here to show you the everyday lives of England.
Today we have an incredible live report coming to you right from the fires of London.
We'll be talking about the Act of Supremacy right after these messages. Early beginnings of the 1600s, the British started using the fork.
This trendy little utensil can not only be used to eat, but it can also be used as a cosmetology tool to brush your hair.
Wow, that's amazing.
A 2-in-1 bundle. If you order today, we'll give you a discount because everyone can use it. And we're back. Today's first topic is the Act of Supremacy. Although the Act of Supremacy serves the same purpose, it was two separate parts of the English Parliament. One was passed in 1534 and the other in 1559. The purpose of the Act of Supremacy was to firmly establish the English monarch as the official head of the Church of England. In the 1534 Act, Henry VIII wanted to take control of the church for more money. In the 1559 Act, Henry VIII's daughter, Mary I, repealed it. Talk about drama. Then it was reinstated by Mary's sister, Elizabeth I. Oh my goodness, a double steal. Well, that's all we have for the Act of Supremacy. Now Olivia Dawes has a live report of the Great Fire of London.
As you know, London is one of our largest cities in Europe. As of today, it's mostly being destroyed. A fire has broke out in London, causing many people to leave their homes, even some losing their homes. The fire supposedly started in a bakery on Pudding Lane near the London Bridge. This may affect people in London the most due to tightly packed home space and the fact that homes are mostly made out of wood, which can cause the fire to spread more quickly. Right now, 436 acres of London have been destroyed. Six people have been reported dead. 13,000 homes and 87 churches have been destroyed. Thank you for tuning in to our live report. Back to you, LK.
Next topic is the Glorious Revolution. The revolution took place from 1688 to 1689. Not only was it known as the Glorious Revolution, it was also known as the Bloodless Revolution because no blood was shed. Although it did leave a significant loss of lives to Ireland and Scotland. The war involved the overthrow of King James II and who was replaced by his Protestant daughter, Mary, and her husband, William of Orange. The war's motives were complex and considered religious concerns. That's all we have for the Glorious Revolution.
Hi, my first topic today is to show you the end of our very ongoing series, Keeping Up with King Henry VIII. To recap, King Henry VIII took to the throne at age 17 and married his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. She could not give him a successful son, but she did bear Mary Tudor in 1516. We will get back to her later. After he divorced her, he married Anne Boleyn, and Elizabeth was born. King Henry VIII killed Anne and soon turned his affections to Jane Seymour, but she died 2 weeks after giving birth to their son Edward. Henry then married Anne of Cleves, but she was merely a political wife, and they were soon divorced. His next wife, Catherine Howard, he had beheaded after only 2 years. This brings us to today. Henry's last wife outlived him, and he finally died. Catherine Parr, Henry's last wife, got lucky enough to fulfill her destiny and not get killed.
We've got here today with the weather and climate for England. I know all of you may think you know that they are always raining, but it does not. The weather varies by day. One day it could be raining, the next it could be sunny. They only get about 1,340 hours of daylight, of sunlight a year. They have warm summers, as obvious, and they have very cold winters, which means they could probably get very heavy snow. The climate is described as temperate maritime, which means that they have weather based on the location and the season, which means if it's summer, it is going to be hot, but during the winter, it could be even colder. They have a narrow annual temperature throughout the year. They get rain throughout the whole year, so it could be winter and it still rain, it could be summer and it still rain. It's just about evened out throughout the whole year. So you'll probably have 1 month that gets more rain than the other, but as a whole, they all get almost the same amount. According to www.englandforever.org, England will probably, their temperature or climate will change because of pollution and global warming. They have springs that last from March to May. They have summers that go from June to August. They also have autumn time, which lasts from September to November, and they have winter that lasts from December to February. February would be the coldest month of all the winter months, and that would leave June and August as the
Our next topic is the Slave Trade Act. The Slave Trade Act has been going on for many, many years, for well over 300 years to be exact. European countries forced Africans onto slave trades and transported them across the Atlantic Ocean. Captain John Hawkins was the first known English slaving voyage to sail to Africa in 1562. He captured over 12,000 Africans and sold them as goods in the Spanish colonies in America. British slave ship owners made about 20 to 50% profit, but most sums of money were made by ship owners who never even left England.
What's your favorite tea? Close your eyes and imagine it. Now imagine that someone just wasted 342 chests of it. Well, that's what happened, folks. The Boston Tea Party was a political protest that occurred December 16, 1773, in Griffin's Wharf, Boston, Massachusetts. The American colonists were angry because of the Stamp Act that was passed in 1763. The people were taxed for all paper goods, including legal documents and newspapers. And then in 1765, they were all taxed for essentials from the Townshend Act, such as tea and different soaps. So one night, some men went in and raided British ships and dumped their precious tea into the harbor. Talk about a tantrum.
The plague has always been a major problem in English history. The Great Plague was the worst outbreak of plague in England since the Black Death in 1348. The earliest case of the Great Plague occurred in spring of 1655 in a parish outside the city walls called St. Giles in the Field. The death rate began to rise during summer and peaked in September when 7,165 Londoners died in 1 week. Rats would carry fleas that cause the plague. They are attracted by the city streets filled with rubbish and waste, especially in the poorest areas.
Thank you. Remember when I said we'd come back to Mary Tudor? Well, that time is now. Born on February 18, 1516, Mary Tudor was Henry VIII and Catherine Aragon's only surviving child. Mary took to the throne in 1553, and she was known by her nickname Bloody Mary because she persecuted hundreds of Protestants, burning them by the lot. A childless and grief-stricken Mary died in November 17 in 1558 of ovarian or uterine cancer.
Hello, I'm Joel Scott here with you for the traffic reports. Out of 3, we started with the first one with Francis Drake. As you all know, he was on his way to the Spice Islands to open up trade in other areas. On his way there, he lost many ships and was reduced to 1 on his way back home. I would really ask of you to be careful on your way there if you're taking the same route as him, because he lost his ships. All of them may have not sunken yet. So you may be in danger because they may scratch the bottom of your boat and make a hole in it, and you will end up sinking with them, sharing the ultimately deadly fate, sadly. The result of him getting there was that he made a way around, and he made it back. So he labeled that as a trade route, and they opened up trade and they got more raw materials. The next traffic report we have is
Before today's Gregorian calendar was adopted, the older Julian calendar was used. In 1752, the British Parliament and King George II corrected several problems with their current calendar at the time. The corrections were first adopted by Pope Gregory XII in October of 1582. Great Britain took notice some 200 years later and adopted the new calendar. The old Julian calendar was only 11 days ahead because of their lack of leap years. This new calendar changed the first day of the year from March 15th to January 1st. Imagine celebrating New Year's on March the 15th. Ever had smallpox? Chances are you haven't. Wonder why? It's because of a man named Edward Jenner. Jenner observed that milkmaids with cowpox never showed any more symptoms once treated with an injection of their specific disease. Jenner took a matter of Sarah Nelm's boil on her hand and injected it into James Phipps' arm. James Phipps was Jenner's gardener. James Phipps never got smallpox even when exposed to the deadly disease. This disease killed 3 out of every 10 people that contracted it. His same principles are still used today when we are injected with smallpox injections as babies.